Hello and welcome to this lesson for the British Online School. This is a Year 8 lesson and is one of a series of 3 lessons that we'll be releasing this week for English. My name is Dr. Rebecca Try and I teach English here at the British Online School. So, let's begin. So over the whole course of this week, we're going to have 3 learning objectives. And that is, firstly, to identify and interpret explicit and implicit information and ideas, to read, respond, and understand texts, to use a variety of punctuation such as commas, apostrophes, and speech marks. So hopefully the work that we're going to do over the course of this week will mean that we achieve each of those 3 learning objectives by the end. Might be an idea once we've finished all 3 lessons to come back, look at the learning objectives and think, have I figured these things out? Have I thought about these things? And do I think that I've at least got a start on being able to understand these? So our first task today is to create a mind map. So I want you to think about what kind of things we might do in English, what kind of things we might learn, what it will be about. What do you remember from last year? This could be anything, thinking about what you studied in English in Year 7, what you studied in English at primary school, anything you think that we might cover in English over the course of our time here. Now, when you're making my map, I want you to make sure that you are using the correct spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Alright? If you're unsure of the spelling, that's okay. Have a go, and you can check it afterwards and see if you were correct. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes now to complete this mind map. Pause the video, take 5 minutes, and I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Hopefully you've now completed your mind map and you have it either on the worksheet or on a different document, or you've done it by hand. Either way is fantastic. Here's one I completed earlier with a few ideas of what I think English is about. If there are any ideas on here that you don't have, feel free to add them to your mind map. Make sure you're adding them in a different colour so you can see where you've been borrowing ideas from other people. So one of the most important things I think we learn in English is how to understand news. A lot of things that we do in English are all about reading comprehension, so being able to read things and understand what they're saying. This will help us in our everyday lives with understanding the events that are going on in the world around us. We also learn about spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Not always in great detail. We're not going to be sitting here all the time looking at grammar and different sentence types and things like that, but that does come up in English and we will be looking at them every now and again. We also look at poetry. Lots of different types of poetry, lots of different poets. At GCSE you have a poetry anthology that you study and you do a whole section of work based on poetry and poets. We also learn to write, both creative writing, writing fiction, as well as writing things that we're going to need in our everyday lives as adults, like writing letters and emails and responding to other people's writing. We learn empathy. So empathy is when you can understand what other people are feeling. So we do this in English through reading literature, understanding how the characters are feeling, why they do the things they do, and also through things like poetry or non-fiction writing. It's really important to help us as individuals to grow and become better people so that we understand how to interact with our fellow humans. Now, Shakespeare here is a bit of a placeholder for all the big classic English people, but we could just as easily insert Chaucer or Dickens or Jane Austen or any of these big characters that we come across in English. We will be studying Shakespeare throughout your time doing English at the British Online School because it's a big part of GCSEs and it's a big part of our literary cultural heritage as well. And finally, perhaps most importantly, one of the things we're going to be doing is reading lots of books. So not just books, but also reading articles, reading leaflets, reading reports, all sorts of different things to help us understand better how to talk to and to correspond with other people. So, if you want to pause the video now and make a couple of additions to your mind map, that is fine. Otherwise, let's carry on. So our next task here is to practice some of the skills we talked about before, okay? So to see where you are at the moment, how you feel about your spelling, your punctuation, your grammar, your ability to use literary techniques like similes and metaphors and things like that. So here on the PowerPoint, on the slide, are a bunch of different pictures that kind of show different things that happened over the last couple of years. So obviously some of them might be more local to the UK, like things like protect the NHS and clapping for the NHS workers, whereas others are more global, like the COVID vaccine, the Black Lives Matter movement. What I would like you to do is choose one of these images and then write a description of the image or your experience relating to it. So what you could do is pick one of the people in the protest down at the bottom and imagine what's going on in their heads. You could decide to be the person who's created the rainbow pictures and think about why they created the rainbow pictures. What was that all about? Did you create rainbow pictures? Why? Why did you do that? Think about these things and try to write almost a little story if you want to. If you want to just describe what's happening in the image, that's okay as well. But try to use a lot of detailed description. Now, what I want you to do is to spend 5 minutes working on your description here. Okay, so pause the video now, spend 5 minutes working on your description. It doesn't have to be perfect, just do what you can. All right, see you in 5 minutes. Welcome back. Hopefully you have now completed your description of those images. So what I'd like you to do as our next task is a little bit of self-assessment, okay? So I want you to reread through your story or your description and think about, did you use any of the following literary techniques? I want you to circle in green where you've done any of these, or if circling is difficult, whatever device you're using, then underline or colour in green where you've done these, and then label with the technique name. Okay, so the things that we're going to look for are, firstly, sensory description. So describing things using the senses, thinking about sight, what you can see, what you can smell, what you can feel, what you can hear, and what you can taste, okay? Then thinking about metaphor, describing something to be something else. So if I said the moon is cheese, that is a metaphor. I'm saying it is something. A simile is when you describe something like or as something else. So if I said the moon is like cheese, that would be a simile. So the moon is cheese, it's a metaphor. The moon is like cheese, that's a simile. Next one, rather long word, can be kind of tricky to spell sometimes. Onomatopoeia. So these are words that sound like the noise they're describing. So things like thump, bang, buzz, whiz. Okay? All those wonderful words that really create feeling when you're reading. Ambitious vocabulary. So words that are more sophisticated than basic language. So trying to use slightly more elevated language will be an example of ambitious vocabulary. If you're not sure with ambitious vocabulary and want to check and try and see if you can make some of your word more ambitious, then try looking up synonyms for that word or use a thesaurus if you've got one to find different alternatives that might be slightly more ambitious. And just push your writing up that little bit further. Finally, personification, giving non-human things the characteristics of humans. So if you were describing those images before, you could have talked about the feelings of the poster, okay, or how the poster stands, the Stay Safe, Save Lives, stands guard over the people of the town. It protects them, okay, so that is giving it the characteristics of a human, okay. So I want you to spend 5 minutes, okay, 5 minutes now, rereading through your story and circling where you have used these. If there are any points that you haven't used them, then maybe think about what you could add in to make sure that you have. Okay, so 5 minutes now, and if you decide to add some more in, then I would say spend 2 or 3 minutes adding a couple more things in if you would like to, okay, if you haven't got any of these things. Alright, so pause the video now, spend 5 minutes, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Hello. hopefully you have now gone through and evaluated your piece of writing. So our next task is, again, based on these success criteria. What I want you to do is to pick another image, okay? So pick another one of these images and write the short story based on that image and using all of the success criteria above. If you're finding it really tricky to pick one of these other images, you could instead write a short story about your time, about what your life has been like in the last couple of years. So you could pick a moment where you had to go into lockdown, talk about what that was like, or you could talk about the moment when you heard about the Black Lives Matter protests and how you felt about it and things like that. Okay? So either pick another image or write a short story about something that happened in your life at this point in time, but make sure that you are using the success criteria above. So what I would like you to do is to spend 10 minutes writing your story, making sure that you are using the success criteria, and then after that, 5 minutes highlighting and labeling where you have used them, okay? And try and use every single one if you can. All right, so 10 minutes writing your story, 5 minutes marking it. All right with that? If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me through the British Online School. But otherwise, 10 minutes of writing, then 5 minutes of marking. I'll see you on the other side. Congratulations, you finished lesson 1. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And it was a good chance to practice some of those English skills that might have been laying to the side, laying dormant a little bit for a while. So what I'm going to do now is ask you to complete this post-it note plenary. So this will test how well you were listening and focusing on the success criteria from this lesson. So without looking back at the previous slides, what I want you to do is to write a definition of these 3 terms on the post-it note, okay, or on your worksheet, depending on where you've been working. So the first is metaphor. So write a definition for metaphor. Remember what I was saying about the moon and cheese, that might help. It might not. Onomatopoeia. All right, so think about what is onomatopoeia. Write a definition of that one. Personification is the final one I want you to write a definition of. So make sure you've got a definition in your books, in your worksheets, or on the slide above, okay? And then afterwards you can check them and tick if you've got it right. If you haven't got it right, then maybe amend your definition just slightly in a different colour. Good luck, and I'll see you next lesson. Bye!